for my kids who are taking time this summer to get better, I hope you start early. I'm hoping that you kids who don't want to settle are out here working your butt off with school being out, because the thing about sports is you can lose it if you don't use it. Tell kids all of the time, hey, if you think you got better and you want your coach to notice, then I expect some of y'all to be standing next to the coach so that when he looks to sub somebody, if you ain't in there, when he looks to sub somebody and he's frustrated and he can't remember a name and he just grabs you and you go. All right. Welcome everybody to Coach Rodo's Winning Regardless podcast. With the summer coming and everybody out of school and all of the open houses and graduations and proms and all of that stuff is out of the way. I went to a couple open houses and didn't see a coach there. It just took me back to when I was listening to a parent talk about, not liking the coach and they don't even invite him to their open house. And I went to two good athletes open houses and no, the coach wasn't there. So again, I think people put too much emphasis on trying to figure out a reason why not to like coaches. Well, with that being said, let's just move on. Again, with the summer coming along, I wonder what my athletes are doing to get better. I wonder what the kids who sat the bench but hated it are doing to get better. Um, you know, it- to getting better doesn't take it doesn't take time off. I've talked to a couple of little young kids who, sophomores, gonna be juniors. I'm gonna take a month off, or I'm gonna take a couple weeks off, or I'm going to play in AAU and going to play in these tournaments. I was like, but you're taking time off while there's a kid out there that's not taking time off that's getting better. You're going to play in these tournaments, these AAU tournaments, and you only practice like maybe once or twice a week. What are you doing outside of that? You have this extra time. Football players, same way. I know a couple of kids that skip 7-on-7, now understanding that that's extra work. Some coaches hold that against you. That might be um, one of those cases where the coaches say, we'll we'll let them weed themselves out, is how they say it. It's one of those things where it wasn't mandatory, but it was suggested mandatory. And I know some kids who sat that out, and I found it befuddling to myself, because these are kids that were talking about getting better and wanted to start next year. So we'll see how that works out for them. But for my kids who are taking time this summer to get better, I hope you start early. I hope you intensify your workouts. My nephew was just in town who plays at USC, and it was funny listening to talking to him because I can notice he shrunk a little bit. And the first thing he said to me was, I know, Uncle Rodo, I got to get in the gym and get myself ready. And his words were, because there's somebody that we recruited who's coming to try to take my spot next year. So those of you who are engraved in your spots, who know they're going to be starting or know their positions that they're going to be playing. Like he said, there's somebody trying to get that. So you probably need to work hard. You probably need to work harder. And the best time to do that is in the summer, to me, because it's so hot out that it trains your body to not only lose weight, but you get into shape being outside working out in a manner in which a controlled environment doesn't provide. Because when you're outside working out, it becomes improvisation in some causes of your workout. Like I remember when we was kids, to get better, a group of us would be like, man, we let's go hit these push-ups, you know, let's go run around the track, okay, now let's get in this crowd, let's get these let's knock out these 100 sit-ups, I mean, and that was just to get better. And it was crazy because when my son Devin was coming up, they used to do that. Him, Jadakiss Lewis, all of those kids, they would have groups of them, and they would all summer, they would work out to get better. And I don't see that anymore. And I'm hoping to see that this summer. I'm hoping that you kids who don't want to settle are out here working your butt off with school being out, because the thing about sports is you can lose it if you don't use it. You know, it goes away just as quick as it comes. All of these kids that are in AAU and all of that, there is nothing wrong with getting your individual work as well. But the problem is these kids come home and the first thing that they say is they're tired, you know. But they won't sacrifice a weekend of AAU for that weekend to be skill work, drill work, getting better work. They'd rather just go hang out and kick it, shoot three balls that they're not going to shoot in high school games, try and trick people on the court. And, I mean, let's just be honest. AAU is just 5-on-5 run. You got some plays, you got exceptional players, and but most of them run just motion, and you just rely on the athleticism of the kids, which is, to me, I mean, as they say, which is why the European kids are catching up or even surpassing us in some aspects of basketball. Now, don't get me wrong. I would never think, because athletically, we're totally inferior athletically. But fundamentally, they've caught us because we don't fundamentally work anymore. We don't work on the fundamentals of the game. Like, a lot of people were complaining about Shea Gilchrist-Alexander. They say he push off, he flops a lot, this, that. But the thing that they were missing was that dude's mid-range game is killer. I mean, and he's scoring 32 with maybe hitting 2 or 3 threes a game, while you got cats jacking up 10, 15 and walking out of there with 22 points. I mean, make it make sense. Because it's a skill work that he put the work in. It's a skill. You look, your football players, the thing that you got to understand is the weight room is a great place to get better, and the track, but also you have to know when to give your body a break from the weight room, and therefore it becomes about body weight workout. You got all summer to use body weight workout and mix in weights. Maybe you do weights 2 times out the week, and the other 3 are, push-ups, sit-ups, deep knee bends, squats, wall push-ups, empty shoulder shrugs. People don't understand that calisthenics get you where you want to be just as quickly and in less pain, because your body needs to take a break, especially you young kids. Summer is growth season. The weather is great. You're getting fresh air. You're getting stuff that your body normally would not get because of how cold it is, at least for us here in Michigan, and how temperamental our weather is. Most kids grow in the summertime, because now all of a sudden they are outside. Now all of a sudden they are getting that breath, that fresher breath, that breath of fresh air through their system, in their body. That's why I always tell kids, I used to tell my kids, motherfucker, you're not about to be in this house. You better get outside. I don't care how hot it is. Get outside, because the outside brings so much to the body that I think we missed that. I think we missed that point. I don't think that these kids understand or are told enough. I don't think these athletes are told that enough. Why do you think that when it's hot out and the sun is out, your joints don't hurt? Because that sun and that heat is lubricating you. That sun in itself is a rejuvenator. That sun in itself is a healer. take it from a person like me, man. I go out to I'll be here in the wintertime and we go out to Arizona, man. I feel like a whole new person because I don't have aches and pains anymore. It's because I'm out there in that sun. And my wife, she cracks up at me because I do not like to be inside. Heck, even here, if it's nice outside, I go in my driveway. I set out my chair and I sit in my driveway. And my employee who's here from California said, just like an old man, huh? Yep, just like an old man. I sit there with my little bourbon, smoke me a cigar, just watch the kids come down dribbling. When they dribble with their head up, I yell across the street to them, "Hey, what you see down there? Ain't no money on the ground. Why you dribbling the ball looking down? What basketball player have you ever seen dribble with the basketball with his head down?" I'll say just stuff like that to the kids. And then I watch them work on what I just yelled at them about. And it just brings a joy to me because now I know that that kid is going to remember what I told him every time he's dribbling that basketball, or at least every time he drives by, he's going to remember, oh, shoot, dude might be sitting out there in this chair and he going to say something if I got my head down. But if I got my head up, he going to tell me how good of a job I've done. And I love for kids to know I love to know that that's going to be a reaction from a kid. That's the giving of me, like giving advice to a kid that I know is going to help them get better. And I think you kids need to take this summer, evaluate yourself. And the thing about being a kid is you only need a day or two. Grown-ups take months to evaluate themselves. And it's a joke to me when I gotta do some self-evaluation. Well, you do self-evaluation in goddamn 20 hours, one day. Okay, I done self-evaluated myself. You know everything about you. You know where you're deficient at. I would take the time to self-evaluate myself. What is it I need to get in shape? I don't like the way my body looks. Okay, how can I change that? Maybe it's by my diet, adding my workout, intensifying my workout to my diet. And that's the thing too. This summer, I want you athletes to work on your diets. This summer, I want you athletes to work on your diets. People don't understand. Like there's a player for Kalamazoo Central, and my man Tim Tarantine Jr. Really, really great kid. But he was always injured. And I told him, I said one day, I said to him, man, might want to look at your diet, bro. You might want to change up some of the things that you eat, that causes inflammation in the body, and you don't even know it. And and it might affect your injury status. And he did. He changed his diet. I mean, he still had little tweaks that came with the game, but they weren't what they were before he changed his diet. He even acknowledged that, which, like I try to give you kids, or kids period, any piece of knowledge that I have that would help you be better mentally, physically, or whatever it takes, maybe absorb what a coach tells you, whatever I can do to help make your athletic life even better. I don't want to see you guys sitting around this summer. I don't want to see you guys and girls thinking that summers I'm out of school is for the rest. Nah, rest is for the weary. You got to get out there and get it. None of these people, pro athletes that you guys look up to and strive to be, even the college athletes, unless they're 6'8", 6'9", and dominant, or six like Big Dewey and Big Lipsy, 6'5", 6'6", 320-pound people movers who can walk into a place and already, hey, sign right here. You need to be trying to get better. You need to be working out. You need to not take a break. You need to start yesterday. You needed to start running hills yesterday. You needed to start doing push-ups yesterday. You needed to do squats yesterday. You needed to do your leg lifts yesterday. You needed to shoot your 1,000 shots yesterday. I love the AAU game, but again, like I said, I hate when I go there and I see, guys just running up and down the court and just, and just playing. I'm hoping for a fast break, and then when they get in a half court set, it just looks raggedy. I hate seeing that. I love to see crisp AAU play where teams are running plays, like the big time teams do. But also, those big time teams have those kids that I just described that are walking in at 6'8", 6'7". You got 6'4", eighth graders. I mean, so those are exceptions to the rule. See, that's what our kids don't understand. You might be playing AAU, but the ones to me that are exceptions to the rules are the EYBL and the Adidas top circuit, like with Boo Williams and Bradley Beal coaching, Kendrick Perkins little teams and those guys, those are exceptions to the rule, which means the rest of you guys are average and mediocre and good in your area at best. If that's not what you want to be, then you need to be working. And I hate to say that I don't see that enough. I see these cats, well, we got our practice on Wednesday, and then we leaving either Thursday or Friday for our tournament and playing on Sunday. And then they come home and not doing nothing Monday, Tuesday until practice on Wednesday. When you want to beat teams come to high school season and wonder why you can't. Because those guys they are doing that. They come home, hey, what's up? We gonna be at the gym tomorrow? That's Monday. Yeah, we be at the gym, and just shooting around, just doing drills. Oh, I'm resting. That is resting. That is giving your body a break. It's a mechanical now. It's something mechanical. It's mechanical. I'm dribbling. I'm working on my stuff. You can take a break and go get some water. You can chill out, but you're still getting in that work. They don't do that anymore, at least not around here. They go to the AAU again, and then they, on the weekend after they're done, they do because they missed something. Either they missed a girl, or they missed what was going on in the neighborhood, and not the hood, in their neighborhood. Some of them live in the hood, so that's their neighborhood, and that's fine. Even in the suburbs, you still feel like you missed something. So it's not a hood. When I say the hood, in the neighborhood, and so therefore it stops you from putting in that extra. Everybody needs that extra. Pros even need that extra. Football, baseball. Baseball is in full swing in the summertime right now. The thing about baseball is that's one of the sports where you actually do put in the work in the summertime. It's the wintertime when they got to put in their work because all of their games is in the summer. You playing a lot of travel basketball. You're playing USA national baseball team and all that in the summer. So their time is during that time. But their off season is during the winter. But I know most baseball players are multiple sports players. I'm strictly talking to my basketball and football players as far as when it comes to the summer. What are you doing to make yourself better, to make yourself relevant, to make yourself seen by your coach? The thing I used to tell kids all of the time, hey, if you think you got better and you want your coach to notice, then I expect some of y'all to be standing next to the coach so that when he looks to sub somebody, if you ain't in there, when he looks to sub somebody and he's frustrated and he can't remember a name and he just grabs you and you go in there. He don't even know who you is because he can't remember what name he wanted to call. And I've seen that happen because I've done it myself and throw the kid, and I end up not taking that kid out for the rest of the game because he was just waiting for his shot. I want y'all to be those kids because you spent that time working and you standing next to that coach, and I want that coach to throw you in, and I want you to get rewarded for your work, but not by the coach. I want you to get rewarded by yourself because that'll tell you the amount of effort that you put into getting better this summer. The reward yourself. The coach throws you in. That's not his reward. His reward is it was because of you that your contribution. That's his reward. Your reward is getting in the game and putting in that work and showing how much effort I put into my workout this summer. This right here is about to tell me. If I'm on the defensive line, if I'm slanging folks left and right, just getting in the mix, putting my nose in there. If I'm a linebacker, my reading reaction time has gotten a lot quicker. I can hold blocks a lot. I can hold running backs up a lot longer to get to the ball or to get to the quarterback because of the effort that I put in, the push-ups I put in, the push that I put in, and the work that I put in all summer. I want kids to reward themselves, and that's why I wanted to talk about this. I wanted kids to understand that you have to, in high school and college, to be elite, work every day. It's just like going to school, and that's the thing that kids don't you think you got a break from school because you're not doing no break of work. So that gives you a break from your whatever you're doing sports-wise, when it should be the opposite. My break from work means I get to pick up on this. I need to intensify this. 2 hours out your day every day, that's nothing. 2 hours out your day every day is nothing to get better. I mean, I know I say a lot about my youngest son, but the thing about him is I never had an issue. I never had that problem. He always wanted to get better, even if no matter whatever he was playing. We was going to the cages. In the summertime, he'd wake me up, Dad, when I had to take him to the Y. Be waiting for me to wake up, and all I had to do was drop him off. Son, when do I pick you up? I'll call you. 4 or 5 hours later. Because he was in there working. He was playing games, but then he was working too. That's how and the thing about it is, it can't always be with your friends. That's y'all's problem. If one friend don't want to do it, then all of y'all don't want to do it. And we was never like that. We would go anywhere. Oh, y'all ain't hooping? Oh, well, I'm pretty sure they hooping over here. Hey, let's go. We going to the west side to hoop. Oh, they ain't hooping at the Y? Let's see if we can get a ride out to the rec, to the MSU IM. And we was cool with people who would let us in. Just like I know that some of y'all is cool with these people down here at Western at the rec that'll let you in. You got to want to reward yourself with your play. And in order to do that, you've got to get better. And in order to get better, you got to put in the work. And to put in the work is right now. The best players get better when nobody's watching or paying attention. It becomes a case where you show up and they say, where the hell did this come from? And then that gives you the opportunity to say, Coach, I've been working all summer. I can see. That's what you want to hear as an athlete. I don't care what sport it is. That's what you want to hear. You want to hear a coach say, damn, you got better. And you want to be able to say it's because I worked. So in closing, I just want to say, remember, hard work does pay. And 2 hours a day is nothing. You'll find yourself loving it once you start it. Once you see the improvement, once you see you getting better, once other people tell you you're getting better, you'll find yourself loving it. All I'm asking you to do is just try it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Coach Rodo's Winning Regardless podcast.